Welcome to the Connor's Corner segment of Ask the Lawyer. I'm very pleased to have on with us one of the members of the Duck Dynasty, Willie Robertson. How you doing today, sir?
Good. How are you?
Okay, so just for the audience, which one are you? Who are you?
Which one am I?
Yeah,
The
well,
Robertsons?
they're all big, guys with beards, which I have
Yeah,
too.
guys
But
with
that's
beards. I'm son number 3 of Phil Robertson, and on the television show, I was the CEO, and am the CEO to this point, and because I had more of the business sense, so which is why I wrote a book and ran the business. So.
all right. Now you're a businessman. You have a book. The title is American Entrepreneur: How
Right.
400 Years of Risk Takers, Innovators, and Business Visionaries Built the U.S.A. So how far back in time do you go? 400 years ago?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty much to the beginning of, America, a little bit before. We talk about a little bit about the Native Americans, and then, we launched right in there, right, George Washington on up, all the way to modern times. So we kind of covered all of it, and just got a good collection of stories that, told about the spirit of entrepreneurship, and then I write in the book about our family and kind of our journey. And I was always into making a buck here or there, even when I was a small child. And I sold candy. I had a worm farm, pretty good worm farm for a while, and sold candy at school till the principal shut me down. And I was always into selling things and interested in business. And and at the same time, my father was trying to build this duck call business, and the main thing we did was commercial fish. That was kind of paid the bills until the duck calls kind of hit and took off. And I grew up doing that and worked in every aspect of the business. Shooting 10 years old, I was customer service. I was the labor man. All the boys were the employees of Dad at the time. So we learned all that, and shipped all the orders out, answered the phone, and and then ended up kind of taking over the business and running it. And then along comes Hollywood and said, "Let's do a show," and we did it. So
I think the governor up here in New York would try to shut you guys down. You probably violated who knows how many child labor laws.
he probably did, but it was a good education we got in the process of it. So we didn't get paid either, by the way.
I know.
He said, Dad would say we got paid, but he gave us room and board and our meals. So that's he always viewed it as that, and which was good. I wouldn't trade how we grew up for anything. So, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it'd work in New York or not.
I don't think so. You brought up George Washington. Everybody knows George Washington was commanding general of the Revolutionary War Army for the Americans. He was our first president. But he wasn't just a military leader and a president. He had a number of businesses.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he was a businessman, and we wrote 2 other books before called American Fisherman and American Hunter, and Washington was in those books as well. And he had tons of businesses going on, and I actually stayed by Mount Vernon. My friend Adam LaRoche played baseball for the Washington Nationals, and he rented this place while he was playing. And I think it was Sonny Jurgensen's old house, and so it was this giant house, and but it was older, and we were right next to Mount Vernon, right there on the river. And so I kind of I remember thinking back, seeing where George Washington was, and so then all his businesses made sense, and his fishing business, and he did meat processing and weaving, and did distillery actually, and blacksmith, and they had all kind of businesses going on that he was interested in, and that he did and was successful in as well.
Yeah, of course, back then, okay, late 1700s, we elect an entrepreneur to be president. It took a long time before we got back to electing another entrepreneur, wasn't it?
We did do that, and people asked him about the president, and the first thing that I was kind of attracted to when Mr. Trump was talking about running was actually his business stuff, and I thought that's what we need. We need somebody that has some business knowledge in the White House. And so and I was Mitt Romney was the same way. I kind of thought, you get a guy who knows big numbers and big business, and surely that can't hurt, having them in the White House. And so, and I think a lot of them have proven true. I mean, as far as the kind of state of the economy now, and where we're at, which actually helps people like me and small business owners and medium business owners and even big business. So but that was my initial attraction was the business stuff.
How is your company doing right now?
My company's doing fine. It's it's not where it was back in the height of the TV show, but really that wasn't a lot of that growth. I don't know if it wasn't healthy. It was crazy trying to hang on to that crazy show. I think if you grow too fast, in a business, it can create a whole new set of problems. And but yeah, we're back more like it was before the show, where we, just a normal amount of orders that you can take care of, and still building our duck calls, still making sure the quality's in there, and still have our core customer, which is really outdoorsmen, duck hunters, that people that want to buy a call to try to get a duck in as close as they can to them. So, still there in West Monroe. It's a little bit different now. We have a little tour there at the warehouse that you can go through, and we have things up from the show and things there, because a lot of people showed up to the offices, and I never knew that. I never knew people would actually show up to our business. Never thought about it. And I never forget the first 3 people walked up, knocked on the door to the office, and they were like, "Hey, we wanted to know if we could buy something." And I'm like, "Yeah, you can buy something." So, but I didn't even know how to sell it to them. we just sold direct to stores. I didn't even sell to customers at the time, and so we went and got them. And I said, "Guys, I think we're going to need a store." And so we knocked out part of the warehouse, put a store in. Then that store kept getting bigger and bigger, and we had thousands of people pouring in literally every day that would come to the shop to buy stuff. So turned into a great business that we had right there, just selling direct to customers who were driving through. And the fact that we were on Interstate 20, as you may know, that east-west corridor of I-20 was helpful as well. So because people would be driving down, and we're just right off the interstate. So a lot of people from the show thought we were way out in the woods, and we lived out in the woods, but the office is actually closer into town.
You have any regrets about the TV show?
Not really. I mean, it's there was awesome things that happened, and some things were tough, and but really no regrets. I mean, we don't really look back and regret anything. We just keep moving forward and looking for those opportunities, and it was certainly a gift to us. And you got to figure stuff out, like we talk about in the book. Entrepreneurs have to figure stuff out on the fly, and for us it was TV and fame and all that at the same time. And probably the toughest thing was trying to run the business while all that was going on. And so, because we were running the business, and so, boy, it just gets so busy, and because you're trying to film the show, but also make sure your orders get out. And that first year it happened, it was crazy. The computer crashed for 3 days, and we lost everyone's order. And but the problem was their credit card had went through, and then we lost their order.
Oh.
So we had all this money that we had of people's, but we had no idea what to send them. And so, people would say, "Well, that's good problems to have, Willie." And I'm like, No, it's not a good problem. That's a terrible problem to have, and especially with the nature of the show being that the guys are goofing off half the time. And so I remember getting emails going, "Willie, I'm for real. You need to go in that duck call room and tell them to get my order out. I'm waiting for it for Christmas." But well, we got it all sorted out and kind of made it through that first season. And but looking back, I think it was a blessing and a gift. My kids have went on to start their own businesses and have used their platform well. My daughter Sadie does a tour, and so she was on Dance with the Stars, and so they really parlayed that into a lot of positive things, and that all came from the show. And so, I think I always say this about when you become a celebrity. Most people I know, they're just a bigger version of what they are once they get there. So if you're kind of a not a pleasant person, then you're just a wealthy, more famous, not pleasant person. And if you go into it with the right attitude, you can use that. And I think one thing that helped us was that we didn't have to go off, and so we didn't have to go to New York or L.A. or didn't have to travel really. We shot the show in our hometown. We went to the same church, shopped the same stores, same kids were in the same school. So really not a lot of that changed other than everybody knew who we were. So which is fine. It's has good and bad about that, but mostly all good.
Now, let me ask you something. Why did you write the book? What's the point? What do you want the reader to get out of it?
Well, like I said, we did American Hunter, we did American Fisherman, which both of those were close to our heart. Having been, grew up being commercial fishermen and also hunters. And then one of the aspects was business. Probably the most question I get from a lot of people is about their own business. And so because we ended up not as like I would say wealthy or anything because of our business, but more like since we were on TV, a lot of people saw that and saw this real niche-y thing like a duck call, and so they come up and ask questions about their own business and, how did you know? And maybe they work with their family and how does that work? And how did you know when to take the risk? And how do you know when to, just a lot of questions about business. And so I was always intrigued with other people's stories and how they did it. And really some of the other factors, whether they were they wealthy? Were they poor? Was there a hunger there? How does that happen when people are starting businesses? And what I noticed over the course of the book was it's all different. I mean, some of these guys were wealthy, and some of them were very poor and hungry. Some of them were older in life, and some of them younger. Some of them were in the business of their families, and some weren't. Some started some crazy ideas, and I did know this, that the common theme was always a hard work ethic, and so all these people in the book had a very hard work ethic, and that's key, and I always say being patient too, because you're going to fail a lot too, and a lot of these people in the book failed, went bankrupt, but kept trying and kept figuring it out, so they didn't stop, and so hopefully people can read the book, and it's a good read just from the interesting things that are said in there about different businesses and how they did it. But also hopefully it'll encourage people. Maybe someone will say, hey man, I've always wanted to do this or start this, and they can grab a hold of one of the stories and say, man, they did it, and I'm going to try it as well. And despite where you're at or what you've done in the past, or whether you felt like you passed you missed it or whatever. So hopefully it'll inspire people to become an entrepreneur or, do something different.
Make America great.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the book. Thank you, for entertaining us all these years, but thank you for what you're doing. It's really appreciated, because sometimes, you live here in New York and you think everything's out of whack. And sometimes, sometimes you got to go back to people from Louisiana and get your, get your moral compass straight.
I love coming to New York. I've had a great time here, but I will be ready to get back in the woods. So there's a lot of concrete here. So we're ready to go get back in the woods and have a little peace. So, well, good deal. Good talking to you.
Willie Robertson, American entrepreneur.